This conference will now be recorded.
Twenty-first, 2022, South Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners meeting. I will call this meeting to order. If you would all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to announce that all public sessions of the South Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners are electronically recorded, filed, and posted to the website for public access. We do have all commissioners present this evening except for Commissioner Brad Osborne, who is absent. Moving on to announcement B, I would like to call on our Township Manager, Tom Petrucci, to please review our public and virtual meeting rules.
Yes, the rules are as follows. Courtesy of the floor for non-agenda items will be at the beginning and end of the agenda. Public comment will be limited to 5 minutes per speaker. For all listed agenda items, the board president will call for courtesy of the floor prior to the Board of Commissioners taking action on that specific agenda item. For in-person attendees, please raise your hand to be recognized, then move to the podium when directed. You will be asked to state your name and address for the record and may then proceed with asking your question. For those participating virtually, please mute your microphone or telephone to avoid any background noise that may cause interference in the meeting. The chat box feature will be active throughout the meeting. If you have a comment or question, please type your full name and address into the chat box. The staff member monitoring GoToMeeting will then unmute your microphone and you will then have the opportunity to comment or ask a question. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd also like to announce that the Board of Commissioners did meet in executive session on September 14th to discuss legal and personnel matters. Moving on to agenda item 4, courtesy of the floor, is there anyone present or online who would like to address the board at this time on any non-agenda items? Seeing and hearing none, we'll move on to agenda item 5, our meeting minutes. They've been prepared and distributed to the board in advance. Are there any questions from any of the commissioners on the meeting minutes from the September 7th meeting? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
I'll second.
A motion and a second on the floor. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. We have no presentations this evening. Moving on to agenda item 7, ordinances. The first ordinance tonight is for a previously advertised for possible adoption, an ordinance reenacting, amending, and restating Chapter 296, Stormwater Management of the Codified Ordinances of South Whitehall Township in its entirety, providing the article shall be known as the South Whitehall Township Stormwater Management Plan Ordinance, and further providing for general provisions, definitions, stormwater management standards, drainage plan requirements, inspections, stormwater management, site plan requirements, stormwater BMP operations and maintenance plan general requirements, operations and maintenance responsibilities for permanent stormwater runoff controls, fees and expenses, prohibitions, enforcement and penalties, references, repealer, severability, failure to enforce not a waiver, repealer, effective date. At this time, I'm going to call on our Public Works Utility and MS4 Coordinator, Mike Elias, to assist with this ordinance.
Again, sorry for that whole thing. That's a lot to read. As you heard, the ordinance was previously approved to advertise. We received no comments on the advertisement. And just to reiterate, the adoption of this stormwater ordinance will keep us in compliance with DEP's 2022 model ordinance.
Very good, thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Of course.
I have a quick question, Mike. I was going through all the pages, there's many.
Yeah,
I was looking at table 12 on page 94, and I was looking at the flooding that's in our township. Guth Road. No, I'm actually on the wrong page here. I'm sorry. Guth Road and Main Street, 26th and Highland Streets. And in the last column, under proposed solutions, there are none proposed. Is this something that's up to date? Is this a permanent, it is what it is, it's always going to flood? Is this something that can be taken care of on a regional level?
May I see the pager?
Yeah, it's page 94. It's this one. It looks.
Yeah, go ahead, Tony, if you want.
All right, thank you. So this chart was taken from the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission's watershed for the South Whitehall Township. They put this out as for Jordan Creek watershed. It was done years and years ago. What happens is LVPC identifies locations that need stormwater improvements, and then as projects and developments come in, much like the comp plan identifies intersections that need improvements, this is something to the same effect. Now, none proposed at that time. There was nothing on the books when the plan was done, but it's not something that has to stay like that. It's something that the township should keep in mind as future projects or adjacent projects come into play. Again, it was taken because we're in this water. Our township is part of this watershed.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Any other board questions? Anything from the public? Sure. If you'd come up to the microphone, please state your name and address for the record.
Brian Height, 1273 Eck Road in the township. Probably should I ask this? I didn't read the ordinance. I read enough ordinances at work. Let's say you have a large-scale warehouse development, and it's been in operation for a year, but there's a lot of spray irrigation systems involved with that project that have not been finished or in operation. Is this give that you teeth to make that get done? My concern is the stormwater that helps on their site reach my site because I'm downstream from it. That's my only question.
So since they're capturing rainwater, they're not supplementing with like township water or anything, would that be a civil?
No, I think what he's saying is that, so this site's under construction. Well, and
It's not closed
although,
out.
unfortunately, the buildings are built in the parking lots there and it's being used, but they still have an open MPDS permit. In theory, you don't have to finish your stormwater until your permit is expired, which is a 5-year period, or until it has to be renewed. Right now, from any site that's functioning in that capacity, unfortunately, it stands with LCCD as they are kind of the manager of the site during construction. But it happens sometimes that this a spray irrigation system is not put in. There's not been a final inspection of that site. It would definitely be on the punch list, but it has to be put in before the permit's closed.
Brian, I would just add that while Tony has spoken to the timing of it, it's certainly no doubt something that has been secured by the township, and ultimately the township can require that it be done, and the funds are there to assure it.
Yeah, and Brian, I have a meeting out there tomorrow with Blue Rock. They are going to call me in the morning. Yep. That's why I have that meeting.
They don't do anything.
That's why I have that meeting with them tomorrow. I have vented to them my frustrations with them to try to get that done.
Flooded.
Yep.
And no, but there's water running underneath the curb into the road.
Mm-hmm.
Curb was out there the other day. One of your guys was driving down. It's like, what's going on?
Yeah, that's where they had a break on their irrigation system.
Right.
Which we got a hold of Aquamist right away. They were able to shut that down. It does have to be repaired. But like I said, I do have a meeting tomorrow morning out there with Blue Rock so we can get a schedule formed in order to get this work completed out there. And I will forward you the schedule also so you can see that too.
They were supposed to pave my driveway in June. Well, actually, they were supposed to pave it last October. They paved half of it, caused more flooding, you know. Their timelines, what is the incentive for them to do anything? There were not Blue Rock, but the owners of the company are worth $12 billion. And this has been going on since before the pandemic started. That's how long this has been going on. And I would love to take any commissioner, anybody, come to my house. We'll go for a 3/4 of a mile walk. I got a list myself of 72 items that they'll fix stuff on their site that involves their employees or their leasee, but anything to deal with the road, we had this conversation the other day.
Yep.
They just,
And
there's no incentive.
Yep, I had Tony copied on that email along with Dave to get this meeting set up. No, I understand where you're coming from, Brian. It's a frustrating process out there.
I'm looking for avenues that the township could actually compel them to actually accomplish something other than leasing the building. I'm sorry that we went on our side path there, but.
The only thing, Brian, and I know it's a little, but there is money secured for all those improvements. So if push comes to shove, we have money put away that the township could finish it. So we are still holding the money. It's just, it hasn't been called in yet.
Luckily, it's been a dry summer. If it was raining like we had a couple of years ago, I mean, I'll bring this up later at the second courtesy of the floor of my issues, but I've taken too much of your time on this agenda.
Brian, I don't think you've taken too much time. Oh, feel free. But thank you for your input. Herb, could you keep the BOC up to date and also Solicitor Zader on your findings and maybe come up with some kind of a timeline?
Yeah, that's why I'm
A
gonna.
specific timeline that they agree to. I mean, I can see if it's been before the pandemic, it's going on 2.5 years, 3 years.
Yeah, we have issues out there. I'm gonna walk with the gentleman from Blue Rock tomorrow to point those things out. And then at the end of that, I'm gonna let them know that I need a schedule put out on a spreadsheet when you're gonna accomplish this stuff so we can keep moving forward to get this stuff accomplished.
Thank you.
I'm very emotional about not stormwater necessarily, flooding. My property was flooded out twice. The construction of the warehouses with the blasting, altogether, my property has suffered $52,000 in damage. This township is collecting taxes. The owners are collecting lease fees, and I'm in the hole tens of thousands of dollars. And nobody from Black Creek Group or Aries Management that bought Black Creek Group and Blue Rock I gave them a list of my damages and they ripped it up in front of my face. So they're not allowed on my property. They're not allowed to work on anything on my property. So there's a long history here. I would love to have a long chat with your new township manager. Just get you up to speed on my life the last 3 years. So,
Yes, we can certainly arrange that.
thank you.
Very good.
Sorry for my issues on the township ordinance.
No, we appreciate you bringing that to the board's attention, and thank you to all staff involved and to our township manager, who will certainly continue working on this issue and keep the board up to date as well, so we're aware. Thank you all. Any other public comment? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to proceed with said ordinance?
Make a motion.
I'll second it. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to ordinance B. For discussion only, we have a motion to proceed with advertising. An ordinance reenacting, amending, and restating Chapter 92 of the Codified Ordinances of South Whitehall Township in its entirety, providing that the ordinance shall be known as the South Whitehall Township Police and Fire Emergency Alarm Ordinance, and further providing for name, purpose, and intent, definitions, alarm system installation requirements, alarm system operation requirements, alarm system technical information, alarm system repair service, alarm system disconnecting, verified response, registration fees, false or nuisance alarm determination, service fees, appeals, payments, fines and penalties, remedies for violations, police, fire department duty, immunities preserved, severability, failure to enforce not a waiver, repealer, and an effective date. And I'm going to ask our Code Enforcement Program Manager, Tom Harper, to assist.
I promise next ordinance, I will make that shorter for you. It's 2 ordinances now that I've written that they're very long for you.
It's okay,
But,
thank you.
Anyway, good evening, commissioners. Tonight, I present to you for discussion and motion to proceed with advertising the South Whitehall Township Police and Fire Emergency Alarm Ordinance. This ordinance will be replacing the current alarm ordinance of 2010. The highlights of the new ordinance are as follows. It provides for the reduction of free occurrences from 6, which are currently 3 in a 6-month period, to 2 a year. The invoice billing for the services will be conducted on a quarterly basis instead of currently a biannual basis. The involved parties who receive these have the occurrences must submit a plan to the township as to how they're going to eliminate future false alarm or nuisance alarms. It also allows the Board of Commissioners to establish the fees annually as part of the fee schedule resolution process versus amending the ordinance each time they want to change the fees. There will also be fees set for commercial and residential entities instead of one flat fee for all. It addresses the outdated language and terminology that was in the old ordinance. At this time, I'd like Chief Dorney, if he could talk about the alarm verified response, and he has some figures regarding the current and past false alarms that the township has occurred.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure that we instituted a verification process, a 90-second verification process into the alarm program. I believe Paul Leonard, when he had been here, had discussed that with me. He said it was very successful in Montgomery County with reducing the amount of responses to false alarms, therefore minimizing the need for our emergency responders to respond. We're going lights and sirens. It makes it safer for our community, safer for our first responders, and they dramatically cut their false alarms down by doing this. I can tell you from the experience that we have, many of our false alarms are at hotels, places that are occupied at the time the alarm comes out. This 90-second verification process will allow the alarm monitoring station to call that establishment and find out whether or not there is in fact an emergency or if it's a false alarm. Typically, those places will be able to determine that. They realize that, and they can say it's a false alarm. We don't need a response. They don't need to notify emergency services. Therefore, it now keeps police and fire from driving lights and sirens to a response that they don't need to go to. It saves the township, it saves our residents, saves the community, and quite frankly, it will save our businesses from having to pay the false alarm dues for responding. So I think that is a very good part of this ordinance. Just to give you some stats, from 2021, we had 657 false alarms in the township that we responded to. And year to date, as of the 6th, we have 561 this year already. So we're on pace to be over 700 for the year. And if we can cut those down considerably, even by 50%, we're doing a great thing for our community.
Thank you, Chief Dorney.
Welcome.
Okay. So then, as you know, as the chief said, there is a cost associated with responding to these calls in addition to the dangers both the police, fire, and public could occur during a response. Another reason for redoing this ordinance was some time ago it came to my attention that enforcement was not occurring as needed for unpaid invoices. So therefore, what I took over as part of enforcement was I sent out overdue notices, were sent to the parties involved, providing them time to pay the outstanding invoices. From those notices, there have been people who have paid, but there were 11 parties that went to court that issued citations for. And from that, so far, 6 citations, the party had pled guilty. resulting in roughly $10,000 in restitution to the township. One party has opted for a hearing, which is scheduled for next week, and currently 4 citations are at warrant status with Judge Hammond's office. Just currently, the report that I just received the other day, there are 28 outstanding invoices for service fees on that report. And from the first of the year to June 30th, in that billing cycle, there were 11 invoices for 24 alarm responses, which were a result of the first 3 that were given free. So that's 33 free responses on top of the 24 alarm responses that we're invoicing for, which comes to 57 total. And that fee amount for those is $2,900, which equates to roughly $50 a response. So we're not covering anything on these responses. So that is why I felt that, and the township felt that the ordinance needed to be rewritten and allowing you as the board to increase these fees as necessary with the fee schedule, since they haven't been done for 12 years, roughly. So in closing, this ordinance is intended to streamline the invoicing, collections, and enforcement, in addition to the goal of reducing the number of false nuisance alarms in the township, as previously provided by Chief Dorney for the last 2 years. And I don't know, John, did you want to say anything, or you're pretty good with it? And John was a big help in rewriting the terminology and stuff and things like that, and the input from the board and the fire chiefs of the township. I got it.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate all of the staff's work to bring this to the board for discussion this evening. We appreciate the statistics that you brought to us. It's very helpful. So the board has been given a copy of this ordinance for review. Are there any questions at this time from the board? Commissioner Hodges.
I do have a quick question. Tom, are you going to be the one enforcing this?
I will continue to do it for the township.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. How did you, maybe it wasn't you, how did we arrive at the fees for the first offense, second offense? Was that, did Paul Leonard help with that? Or yeah.
That was done back in 2010.
2010.
Yeah, they haven't been to the best of my knowledge, there hasn't been an amendment to that ordinance since its adoption. Huh?
Exactly. Yeah.
State
Oh,
citation.
okay.
By the state.
Okay. All
Oh,
right.
I'm sorry, that part. Yes.
No, that's.
I'm sorry, I was reading the wrong part.
500.
Huh?
Okay.
That's not what it is.
Not the 2000. Okay.
We
all
changed
right.
it.
Yeah.
1, 2, and 3. We kept it the same.
Yeah, it was crossed out, so I wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah, Tom, can you clarify what the fees would be?
For the citation fees, those are the fees that are, I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about a different thing. Those are the fees that are what we put in there. Most ordinances allow the magistrate to give a fine up to $1,000. So in this ordinance, I kept it like the previous predecessor, the 2010 one, where we kept it at 100, 200, 300. What you have in front of you in the red line, that was inadvertently made higher, which there's no way that I know of any magistrate that would issue a fine like that, especially on something that, it was a $75 fee, service fee. They're not going to issue a $2,000 fine. It ain't going to happen. So
Yeah.
the ordinance has been changed back to the $100, $200, and $300 for the magistrate. And that is what Judge Hammond has been doing with the people who have pled guilty. They would pay the restitution, whatever the amount was, and he would give them, since it was their first offense, a $100 fine. So I felt that worked rather well.
Thank you.
Tom, not a question on this specifically, but the money that's collected from the fines, where is that going? Is that going into the general fund or to the fire departments?
What we've talked about the other night, what we're going to do for 2023, it will be separated between the police and fire.
Okay.
Whoever's invoice it results from. So that will be done for next year's budget.
I have another question for you. I'm sorry. When I'm looking at 92.7 alarm system repair service, you're given 24 hours to repair it. Are you the one that's going to follow up with that too? Are you enforcing that?
It'll be something that I will probably coordinate with either myself or, John as the BCO. We'll look at that. I mean, he has more experience on those than I do. So I'm willing to learn, but we'll get it figured.
Okay,
We'll figure out
thank you.
who's going to follow up. Sorry, John.
And will this require the residences and businesses within the township to register their alarms with the township?
I'm not familiar if that is currently done. Is that currently, you want it?
We get burglar alarms registered with
Okay,
the
you
police
get the burglar
department.
alarms.
Yes.
As far as fire alarms, no. So burglar alarms are yes, fire alarms are no.
For both residential and business? And is that something that we could potentially do online in the future? I know we probably don't have that set up that way right
Yeah,
now.
the form is online right now, and then they fill out the form and send it to us. They usually email it to us.
Okay.
We get it at policeinfo.com or at WTPD, and we get them all the time from residents.
I think maybe that's something that I would have a question. Would we want fire alarms registered as well to have at least a database and be able to track?
We can discuss.
I think it's a good
discussion.
idea. I think we should, personally.
We can discuss that. That's fine.
Thank you. And one other question. I know this is just for discussion tonight, but moving forward, I know there's, first 2 alarms will be no charge to the recipient. How will we inform the public if this does become adopted? Is there a plan to let our businesses and residences know that this is enacted and to help educate?
Yeah, there'll obviously be the website. You have,
And all the alarms that we've registered, we would send them notice of the change of the ordinance.
Okay.
Since we already have it on file, we know who has an alarm system, we would make them aware of it. So we could
Okay.
send them a notice indicating there's an ordinance change, and therefore there's no longer 6 before you get charged, it's down to 2. So we could come up with some language to make sure that we get out to residents so they're aware of it, so they're not blindsided by any means. We'll also do a very big social media push with everything that we have, and we'll put it out there.
And depending on the timing, Nixle will hopefully be up and running in a
Hopefully, yes.
township, and that's certainly something
Yeah,
that will
because we
reach.
could do that then and load all the people in that have the alarms and send it right to them as well. So
Great tool. Okay, very good.
Chief, do you have a number on how many there are in the
I
township? Just roughly?
don't have that right now, but we have, there's a lot. Yeah, I'd say probably a good average would be probably 30% of our residents have alarms at their residences, and almost every business establishment does.
I meant the businesses more so.
Yeah.
Any other board discussion?
Tom, there was an annotated question in the draft. Why is the effective date next year, January 1st, as opposed to immediately upon adoption?
basically that has to do with the fee schedule. You would have to amend your fee schedule now to cover the rest of 2022. So we felt that starting in 2021 or 2023, it would give, us to get the programs started, to get the education out to everybody. So with the fee schedule being adopted, I believe the first meeting in January, we're in good timing.
Yeah,
for that.
okay.
And I will get you comparisons from other municipalities to help you with your fee schedule so that you have some background as to what you want to do for the township and your fee schedule for both commercial and residential.
That'll be very helpful. Thank you. Any other board comment? Any from the public? Hearing and seeing none. At this point, we're comfortable with taking a vote to proceed with advertising? Yes, is there agreement on the board?
Yes.
Okay, so do I hear a motion to proceed with advertising said ordinance?
So moved.
I'll second that. We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you very much, appreciate it, and thank you, Chief Dorney. Moving on to resolutions. We have a resolution this evening appointing Dennis Toomey as a regular member of the South Whitehall Township Zoning Hearing Board, and I will call on our Township Manager, Tom Petrucci.
Yes, so there's currently a primary vacancy on the zoning hearing board. Mr. Toomey has served as the alternate. So this resolution would then give Mr. Toomey the primary role for the zoning hearing board.
Thank you. Are there any board questions on this resolution? Hearing and seeing none, I'll make a motion to approve this resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second on the floor. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
And to Mr. Toomey, thank you for your willingness to serve on our zoning hearing board. And I also wanted to publicly thank Joe Petro, who has retired from that board. I do appreciate his service to the township on our zoning board. Moving on to Resolution B, we have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of South Whitehall Township, Lehigh County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, appointing a chief administrative officer for the South Whitehall Township pension plans. I will again call on our township manager, Tom Petrucci.
Okay, this resolution is one of two action items following the recommendations that were provided during the Monday, September 12th Pension Committee meeting. So this resolution is necessary due to the fact that the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania requires that the township appoint a chief administrative officer for all of its pension plans, including the office personnel pension plan, the police pension plan, and the Public Works Union employees pension plan, as well as the non-uniform employees defined contribution pension plan. So this resolution will provide a clear record for when the plans are audited by the Commonwealth of PA through the Auditor General's office. So I'd seek a motion to approve the resolution as submitted.
Thank you. Are there any board questions on this resolution? Any from the public? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
No, second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. On to Resolution C. We have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of South Whitehall Township, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania, closing out Community Conservation Partnerships Grant, Project BRC TAG 25-140 regarding Kohler Ridge Park Master Plan. And I would like to ask our Park and Recreation Manager, Mike Kukitz, to explain this. Good evening.
Good evening. So as you know, the township acquired roughly 30 acres to a parcel of land, well, 3 parcels of land that are to be known as Kohler Ridge Park. Upon acquiring the land, we looked into doing a master plan. This started back in 2020, and we've been working on it diligently since then, collecting public feedback and coming up with the master plan for said park. The plan was partially funded by DCNR, and as part of the requirement to close out the grant, we do need to have this resolution adopted and upload to the portal, simply stating that this is a plan that we're going to look at in the future down the road to possibly implement. I'd like to clarify that it is just a plan. A master plan is not a rule book. We're not bound to anything. If you look at the Cover Bridge Park master plan that was done in 2014, there's many things that don't exactly make sense in my professional opinion, and in some other opinions from around the township, such as a dog park and a floodway and those sorts of things. So I wouldn't want matter being washed around the park and the extra fence and the maintenance. So because of some issues we're seeing, we're not following that part of that plan. The Vistas Park master plan was done in 2018. We're currently working on that, and there will be changes most likely made to that as well, for a variety of reasons and funding concerns and just making it all work and soliciting grant dollars and doing all the fundraising that's needed to complete different phases of a master plan. So this is the Kohler Ridge master plan. It is simply a plan, a guide, with all the capital improvements we kind of have on the docket. I wouldn't foresee us honestly looking at this for at least 5 years or so, just with all the capital improvements that we kind of have lined up. We've already identified as something we need to look at. And I'm also curious to see the recommendations out of the prop plan that you all know we're working on as well. So.
Very good. Thank you for that presentation, Mike. Are there any board questions on this resolution?
I just have a comment to confirm what you said, which is you're asking the board to close out this phase of work, period.
Correct.
Commissioner Hodges?
That was basically my question, Mike, and you answered everything in your explanation, so thank you.
Same here. Thank you for your very complete presentation to the board. It answered my questions as well. There's no other board comment. Is there any public comment on this item? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to proceed with said resolution?
So moved.
I'll second it. We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Moving on to Resolution D. We have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of South Whitehall Township to submit an application to the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development 2022 Pennsylvania Gaming Local Share Account, Lehigh, Northampton Counties Grant Program to provide funding to be used for the purchase of municipal public works vehicles. I'll call on our Director of Township Operations, Herb Bender, to explain this.
Good evening, Commissioners. Just to clarify, this memo, me and Dorney worked together on, so it'll actually take care of letters D and E, this memo. So Public Works is requesting to submit a grant, a grant application for two Ford F-350 pickup trucks with snow plows. The total for the grant application is $100 non-refundable. The grant will be submitting is for $122,400 to replace two pickup trucks that will no longer pass inspection due to rusting issues. The police department will also be submitting the same grant for three police Ford Explorers with upfitting for a cost of $170,566.26. We will still have to budget for the equipment for the upfit to these vehicles. This grant also has a $100 application fee, non-refundable. Action requested, the DCED grant requires no match. Staff is respectfully requesting the Board of Commissioners to approve the DCED grant resolutions.
Thank you, Herb. I do appreciate you and any other staff involved for working to seek potential grant funding to help us with our public works and police vehicles. I appreciate that very much. Are there any board questions on these two items? Of course, Commissioner Kennedy.
Yeah, Herb, if in fact you don't get the grant, is this grant for this year or for next year?
For this year.
So if you don't get the grant,
we are still budgeting it in capital, and then it'll still show in the capital budget for this year. If we would get the grant, we just wouldn't have to use those funds.
You read my mind. Okay, thanks. Well, let me go on then. Chief Dorney, your situation.
Same exact thing.
You have two vehicles that probably aren't being used presently because you have two captains that have retired and resigned.
We have one that will go to the lieutenant that gets promoted.
So didn't each of those have a vehicle? Each captain?
Yeah, the captain's vehicle was actually put down into the detective bureau currently because their cars will not pass inspection moving forward. That's going to be another budget issue for the future. But yeah, my request for the capital is the three vehicles, the marked units that we typically buy every year. And then there's also an additional request for detective vehicles that will come later in the budget for the capital. This would offset those costs.
We're going to see that when we do budgets this year?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Thanks.
Any other board questions? Any from the public? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to proceed with the resolution for the grant for the public works vehicles? We'll take two votes on this.
Just one thing, Diane, on the resolutions that are presented here, we will have to make a change to the dollar amount that is in there for both of them. When you look at them, I believe it's
200,000.
Yeah, we'll just have to change those dollar amounts to the correct dollar amounts. That's all.
And Tracy, will you take care of that for us? Thank you very much. So do we have a motion to proceed with the resolution for the public works vehicles? I'll second it. We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And then Resolution E, which is the resolution of the Board of Commissioners of South Whitehall Township to submit an application to the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development 2022 Pennsylvania Gaming Local Share Account, Lehigh, Northampton Counties grant program to provide funding to be used for the purchase of municipal police vehicles. Do I have a motion to proceed?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it. Motion and second on the floor. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to motions. We have a motion requesting permission to advertise for request for proposal, an RFP for HR professional consultant and HR generalist position. And I will ask our Township Manager, Tom Petrucci, to explain this motion.
Thank you. Yes, the action requested is that the Executive Office is respectfully requesting a motion to approve the advertisement of the request for proposals and qualifications for a professional human resource consulting services firm, as well as the posting of the availability of a human resources generalist position. To give you the background on this, the Executive Office has identified the need for a professional consulting firm or human resources employee to handle the day-to-day human resources related functions of the township. The RFP will seek to engage a professional consultant that is experienced in fostering a positive culture, recruitment, investigations of employee complaints, legal compliance, managing employee relations, and other related duties. And then concurrent to the RFP, it is also requested to advertise a job posting for a human resources generalist. The generalist will handle a broad range of HR-related tasks, and he or she should ideally possess the skills, education, certifications, and training to handle them. It is important to note that the township will select one of the two above listed options and not both upon review of the proposals and job applications received. It is necessary to conduct both the RFP and the generalist position searches in tandem to maximize the probability of realizing an eventual successful outcome for the township. At this time, we are only requesting funding for the advertisements, not for the positions or the consulting firms at this time.
Very good. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate you bringing this to the board for consideration. I know this is a position that was discussed in our budget workshops a year ago, that there was a need expressed from certain department heads to us that this would be something helpful and useful and beneficial to the township. So thank you for bringing this for our consideration. Are there any questions or comments from the board on this motion?
I have a comment and a question. Both of these documents are absolutely outstanding. They include a great amount of detail, which explains the requirements, something I think we definitely need in this case, and I would say in all cases going forward. And I especially applaud the inclusion that the HR responsible manager will have responsibility for policies and procedures, processes, so that all of that can be codified and available for all future reference. So I think it was a job extremely well done in preparing these documents. My question is for the consultant. It goes into adequate detail, 1 day a week and so much time allocated for the remainder of the year. What's envisioned? I know this is a little premature, but what's envisioned? Would there be like a fixed price agreement with that scope of work or that amount of man hours? And then if there was a deviation, would there be like a T&M, as opposed to the entire thing being an open-ended T&M?
Yeah, the intent is, first of all, I just want to say the documents were prepared collectively. So it was myself, Herb Bender, and Donna from the finance department. So just want to make sure everyone gets the recognition because you indicated how well they were done. So I appreciate that. So I wanted to touch on your question, and basically it's a combination. So ideally, the contract would be primarily for a fixed fee. If there's any ancillary services that need to be conducted, then that would be time and materials. But we would try to endeavor to not have that be the case, that the scope of the contract would be conducted primarily through the primary base contract. I hope that answers your questions.
Yes, thanks.
Any other board questions? Any from the public? Hearing and seeing none, do I hear a motion to proceed with said motion?
So moved.
I'll second it. We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And thank you to all staff for preparing these documents for us. Moving on to motion B, we have a motion to approve the 2023 minimum municipal obligation, MMO, for the pension plans. Again, we will call on our township manager, Tom Petrucci.
Okay, this is the second action item coming out of the September 12th Pension Committee meeting, which is the approval of the 2023 minimum municipal obligations for the police, public works, and office personnel defined benefit pension plans, as well as the 2023 MMO for the non-uniform employees defined contribution pension plan. So to give some background information on this, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania requires public agencies to approve their minimum municipal obligations for each of their respective pension plans on or before September 30th of each fiscal year. The worksheet percentages, including the normal costs and administrative for the defined benefit plans, are derived from the actuarial valuation report, which the last one was dated as of 1/1/2021 and would have been filed earlier this year. In accordance with Act 205 requirements. Now, for the defined contribution plan, it's a flat percentage of 6% contribution from the employer to the employees. So with that, going through the MMOs themselves, for the defined contribution pension plan for the non-uniform employees, the amount of the MMO is $178,594. The MMO for the office personnel defined contribution pension plan is $780,104. The MMO for the police pension defined contribution plan is $1,207,107. And the MMO for the Public Works Union Employees Pension Plan for the defined contribution pension plan is $688,557. So that lists all the MMOs. The total is $2,854,362. It's important to note the township has not received its state aid allocation amount figures yet. So of course, these figures will be offset by state aid. The interesting thing is here that the state aid you receive in 2022 would be for what was calculated last year in 21. So the same thing for next year. You're going to receive your state aid in 23 based on what was done in 2022. So we will budget for both the expense of the MMO, which is required by law, and then the revenue will offset that amount. So once we have the actual figures of what we'll be receiving for this year, we'll inform the board, and then those funds would be deposited into the custodian bank for the pension plans in a timely manner. So with that, I'd seek a motion to approve all those MMOs as listed.
Very good. Thank you very much. Any questions from the board on the MMOs?
It's not a question, it's just a comment. And I just want to, I sit on the pension committee. It was my second meeting, and it was Tom's first as a member of South Whitehall Township as a township manager. And we are fortunate to have somebody in Tom's experience, because he fit right in on that committee with his background in previously his other location. He fit right in with the pension committee and was a wealth of knowledge. So thank you for bringing it to South Whitehall.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Appreciate that. Any other board comment? Any from the public? Hearing and seeing none, I'll make a motion to approve the MMO for the pension plans. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second on the floor. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to motion C, we have a motion requesting permission to proceed with applying for the fall 2022 DCNR grant with regard to Pavilion 3 replacement project. I will again call on our Park and Rec Manager, Mike Kukitz.
Yes, so staff is seeking permission to apply for a fall 2022 Department of Conservation Natural Resources grant to help offset the costs associated with replacing Pavilion number 3 and making other site improvements around Pavilion number 3, including a few parking spaces which currently don't exist for residents. Staff recommends applying for the fall 2022 DCNR grant round, and I will just throw in the caveat that this is a very, very unique situation. The grant rounds for DCNR are always pretty standard, pretty set in stone. They open in January, they close in April. It's a one-time-a-year opportunity for townships and other folks to apply to receive state funds. And this year, as I sent in the, I believe it was an email to you, it was an unprecedented, I've never heard about it, fall opportunity. So I went over and chatted with Tom and Herb about the opportunity, and we had a discussion about what may make the most sense here, and this kind of came to the forefront.
Thank you. Are there any board questions on this agenda item?
I do. I didn't see there's no match, right?
There was a 50% match, just like,
Is that?
yeah, like all DCNR grants, there is a 50%.
It's a unique grant, you said. It's also an election year.
Unique, yes, correct.
Okay.
Unique in the fact.
In case you didn't know that.
That it came out of nowhere, and we only have about a month to put it together, which is a very short time frame for a DCNR grant.
Mike, I have a question. I know that this pavilion is the least used of the ones that we have, and the location is furthest from parking. And something that came to my mind when I read this, thank you for bringing this to our attention and seeking grants to replace it. I wondered if it's possible to consider maybe relocating this to a place within the park that it is accessible next to a parking lot where it will not still be the least used because of its location. I appreciate that we're adding potentially 3 parking spaces, but if someone's having a gathering and might have 20 guests, it's quite a long walk. And I don't know if that was something that we could build into this grant to potentially make a change to make this pavilion more accessible.
Time is of the essence on that, I will say. So it is in the Cover Bridge Park Master Plan to construct a parking lot and pavilion where we currently have stockpiles right off Ware Mill Road. I don't think we'd be able to come up with a game plan as quickly as we would need to relocate it up there, but we can try if that's the desire.
Or is there a way to connect this current location with a road so that people could drive in and maybe potentially put a different parking lot next to it?
Yeah.
So it's more accessible?
Yes, we could take a look at that, Mike. I have an idea of how we could open the top up and close off the area where we store the stone piles and the tree brush and that, and possibly just widen the road if we would have to, and then put some angle parking up top, and then they would just have to walk down that path or those wooden stairs that are on the side of the hill there. So we could take a look at that, but there are some options where we could try to expand the parking so we could get residents down there easier.
Thank you. Commissioner Hodges?
I have a quick question, Mike. I did look at Pavilion 3. It's pretty rough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My question is, where are you looking to put the ADA parking? Are you looking to put it right there by the footbridge? Because I'm thinking this is all about Pavilion 3, and you're going to put ADA parking, but if you have someone who's mobility challenged, the only way to get to that pavilion is over that footbridge, and that's not ADA compliant. So,
correct. Well, actually, technically, that pavilion is ADA compliant. Residents can park in the main parking lot, and we have a paved trail that goes down to Pavilion 3. Going back to what Diane just said, it's a long walk. So it's not convenient. It's not very friendly, user-friendly, I'll say, for our residents and some of our older residents. And I've had phone calls from people who rented that pavilion asking how they can get down there, or if they're their 80-year-old grandmother, can't walk that far, and we do give them permission to drive down and get dropped off. This would allow us to have a few parking spaces in the current plan, to have just a couple of parking spaces for those folks when they do rent that pavilion. And what Herb just said, we could look to expand to maybe, triple or quadruple those numbers of spaces and try to get, 9 or 12 parking spaces closer to that pavilion to make it a little bit easier on our residents.
Thank
you.
And last question, will there be electricity added to this pavilion if this were to go through, since we're renovating?
There's no plan to add
There's
electricity.
no plan, okay. Any other board questions? Any from the public? Do I hear a motion to proceed with this motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it. Motion and a second on the floor. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will also add that the DCNR grant will require a resolution, so we will be back at the next meeting once we get some updated figures together on the additional parking and include those numbers in the needed resolution for the DCNR grant.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
On to motion D, we have a motion requesting permission to proceed with the purchase of 2 water station pumps and rebuilding of 1 water station pump. Again, we will call on Herb Bender, Director of Township Operations.
Good evening again, Commissioners. The jockey pump at the Hills of Winchester Water Station plays a critical part in being able to pump water to the top of the Regency development. We are looking to purchase a backup pump for $4,575. Also, the jockey pump at Eck Road Water Station also plays a critical role in pumping water to the northern tier of the township. We are looking to purchase a backup pump for $6,150. And also at Springhouse West Water Station, we have a pump that is in need of being rebuilt. The price for that is $4,875. The total cost for the 2 new pumps and to rebuild 1 pump is $15,600. Action requested is the motion requesting permission to proceed with the purchase of 2 new jockey pumps and to rebuild 1 pump. And just to clarify, the 2 jockey pumps, the one for the Hills of Winchester and the one for Eck Road, these new pumps will not be installed right away. These will be reserves. So if something happens and the other ones go down, we can swap these out right away to get water back to the residents quickly. This project was budgeted in the water facility capitals for $30,000. The reason we were able to get it down to $15,600 is we can install these pumps ourselves now. We do not have to have a contractor come in to install them. So that's where the savings is. When we first put it out to get pricing, it was with the install. Our guys are more than capable to be able to replace these pumps on the fly if we have to.
Excellent, thank you. And we appreciate the staff in the Public Works Department. They really have stepped up, certainly over this last year, with taking on a lot more projects than I've ever seen them do. So please pass our appreciation to them.
I will do. They're a great group of guys.
Thank you. Are there any board comments or questions on this motion?
Herb, question. It's $4,875 to rebuild the 1 pump at Springhouse West.
Correct.
What would a new pump be?
The current pumps that are in there are obsolete. You can get parts, but you can't. We would have to, there's 4 pumps that are actually in that building. That is just a booster station. So it just boosts the pressure in the neighborhoods there. Okay. So eventually that is in the CapEx plan that you will see at budget time for that to be redone with all new pumps, VFDs installed and everything at that station.
Any other board comments? Any from the public? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to proceed with said motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. And Herb, don't go away. We have a motion to proceed with advertising for bid regarding Tillman Street Sanitary Sewer Line Relocation Project.
All right. Public Works is requesting permission to advertise a bid for the Tillman Street relocation of the sanitary sewer line. Currently, the sanitary sewer line is suspended on the Tillman Street Bridge over the Pennsylvania Turnpike. Due to the Turnpike Authority replacing the bridge, we can no longer use gravity to feed the line. The reroute of this sanitary line will run down the side of Tillman Street and connect in the Upper Macungies line. The price for this project is $441,798. There is a potential for this project to have a 50% cost share with the Turnpike Authority. We are just waiting on their reply back to us for that. We are requesting a motion to proceed with the advertising and go out to bid for this project. To fund this unbudgeted project, Public Works we decrease the amount of cast-in-place repairs, which would make available $250,000 in this year's budget. And in case the 50% cost share does not occur, we will also budget another $250,000 in 2023 for this project. So we did have $325,000 for cast-in-place repairs in this year's budget. We cut that back to hold $250,000 to help cover the cost of this project. So then we would budget the other $250,000 if we don't hear back from the Turnpike Commission that there is a 50% match to our.
Very good. Thank you, Herb. Any board questions on this motion? Commissioner Hodges? Oh, sorry.
You want to go?
Sure, thanks. I'm thinking at a project management risk. So setting aside the matching funds, whether we get them or not. I don't know, for her, Herb, this is probably an ordinary project, but it seems to me like, it's quite a distance, and there's potentially a lot of unknowns, when we go to get into the trenching and all that sort of thing. And I see we have an estimate from Scott Stevens McCoy, and it's got a percentage reserve in there. But I guess set that percentage aside. What's the potential risk, just in the unknowns, and then how will that be handled when we get to the point, where we award this to a contractor? Is the contractor taking on that risk, or is there going to be provision where they'll take on only a certain amount of risk, but the township has to take the rest? What's the thinking around the risk management?
What happens is if they do run into issues with the trenching, do the rock and everything, that will all have to be spelled out in the bid spec, how that will be handled. Again, normally if something does happen, the contractor will contact us. And if we have to, we will have to do a change order, which we would have to come back to the board if it is over 24%. But we could come back to let the board know if it's a 5% change order, if that's what the board was like. I don't see major issues with the trenching because this line is not very deep. We're only looking at a 5-6 foot bury of this sanitary line to be able to connect into Upper Macungies line. So we don't have to be very deep at all.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And just one last thing. We have not obtained the easements for this yet. We are working with the corporate center out at Tillman Street, and we're trying to get a hold of the HOA. So the reason we're coming for this now is we are on a very tight time schedule. They would like us off this bridge by the end of the year. So corporate center, we look good. The HOA, we don't see it being an issue. We just got to be able to get that person to sit down with us. That's all. And if the HOA doesn't want to play ball, there is other options we could go to get the easement also.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a quick comment. I wanted to verify, and you did, Herb, that this is the item. We had a really tight time frame. I remember talking about this earlier in the year. I just wanted to ask you if we are on schedule. Is this all feasible now going forward with the time frame?
Yes, if we can obtain these easements pretty quickly, yes, we should be off before the end of the year. And if we're not, DEP is going to step in. So that's where the ruling would come from DEP. I do not see DEP saying cut the sanitary line. They're never going to do that. So DEP holds the trump card in this whole thing.
I just have a comment also, Herb. For 20 years plus years as a school board director, all I heard was unfunded mandates from the state. In reality, this is no different. The township or the Turnpike Authority is telling us to get off the bridge.
Yep.
So I like your word potential, but reality of it is that we're being forced to, as quote, an unfunded mandate to get off the bridge and spend $441,000. Hopefully we get the 50% match because they're driving it. So that's my only comment.
Yep. And they did agree that if we did stay on the bridge, there would be a 50% match. But since we're coming, even the price to stay on the bridge is a lot more than the $500,000.
Right. I know you've been presenting this.
So that's why we proposed back to them, will you match us 50% with coming off the bridge? And we just haven't got an answer back yet.
Along those lines, has the township considered reaching out to our state representatives to help us, since this is a state unfunded mandate, basically?
They are on the call, the state, but no, we have not reached out to Schlossberg or anything, but the state is on there. We have let them know that making Verizon move their lines has brought us a lot of grief in this township with hitting water lines and everything. And they want to stay on pace. And the gentleman from the state was there, and they did say thank you for bringing that to their attention. They are going to keep an eye on that too.
Very good, thank you. Any other board comment? Any from the public? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to proceed with said motion?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 10, correspondence and information items. I will ask our township manager, Tom Petrucci, to please review.
Yes, the following is a list of the current vacancies on boards and commissions. Civil Service Commission has 2 alternate vacancies. The Green Advisory Council has 3 vacancies. The Landscape Tree Commission has 2 vacancies. The Parks and Recreation Board has 1 vacancy. The Public Safety Commission has 1 vacancy. The Environmental Advisory Council has 3 vacancies. And following the action from the board earlier tonight, the Zoning Hearing Board only has alternate positions that are vacant, which the board has the option of appointing 1 all the way up to 3. Also, upcoming meetings, the details will be posted on the website. Monday, September 26th is the Landscape and Shade Tree Commission, 10 a.m. Wednesday, September 28th is the Zoning Hearing Board at 7 p.m. Monday, October 3rd is the Public Safety Commission meeting at 7 p.m. Tuesday, October 4th is the Park, Recreation, Open Space, and Trails Plan Public Meeting, 7 p.m.
Thank you, Tom. We do invite the public to attend any of our upcoming meetings. Please check our website for details. All meetings are also offered virtually for your participation. And just to make a comment on the vacancies on boards and commissions, our board did conduct interviews yesterday for multiple vacancies, and a decision will be coming in a future meeting. So, and if there is anyone who would still like to apply, there still is time to do so. You can contact the township for help to do so.
I just have a quick question, Mike. In my notes, I have a note that you were having a meeting on the 29th of September. This was some time ago. That was when I was at a meeting, it was discussed. Is that, I don't see that on here, or is that meeting not going to be held?
Correct. So I believe what you're referencing is what was supposed to be the final Park, Rec, Open Space, and Trails Plan meeting.
Okay.
It was discussed that because the previous 2 public meetings were on a Thursday, that we should look at an alternate night for the final meeting. So we switched it to the following Tuesday.
Thank you. I just want to make sure I don't show up. All right.
Okay, moving on to old business.
I have one extra item.
Sure.
So I have a short finance committee report, and since Tom Petrucci's new, I've been doing this for the last couple of years. And what I always do is review this with the finance director before giving this report for accuracy, which I did with Trish earlier today. So first item, audit corrective actions. At our meeting, we agreed that policies, procedures, and employee job manuals will include and codify corrective actions for future reference. And we also agreed that our finance director, Trish Dickert, would report progress on one of the key corrective actions, which was the bank reconciliations. The second item is Herbine has prepared an internal control audit scope of work, which has excellent detail. And our finance director will report future progress on that scope of work. And the third item is our committee discussed and we resolved that the new fire fund budget structure and allocations will be reviewed and resolved during the budget workshops.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on that report? Thank you. Moving on to old business. Where's Dam? I'll call on Herb Bender again to update us on that project.
Yeah, we have met down there numerous times. Of course, we went through a pretty dry season. Now we need to get into the dam to measure the sluice gate. Now we get rain. Now the water's coming over the top. We can't get the measurement. So what we talked about doing down at Ware's Dam is they're putting all their submittals in now for the Kohler Dam and everything like that, the concrete mixes and stuff. That way we can get the Kohler Dam installed, get them in here to do the concrete. The Kohler Dam can divert the water away from the sluice gate so we can get the measurements, get that to the fabricator so we can get this going. They can start with the concrete work and hopefully have the sluice gate back by the time they're done with the concrete work. If not, the contractor would pull out for a little bit until the gate's done and then come right back and install the sluice gate to finish the project up. So we have potential to possibly finish this year or get partial of it done this year and then have to finish it early spring next year when the sluice gate would be in stock for us.
Very good. Thank you for that update, Herb. Are there any board comments, questions from the public? Okay, moving on to old business item B, comprehensive plan update. I'll ask Dave Manhart, Director of Community Development, to update us.
Yes, so we had our September workshop meeting last Tuesday. At that meeting, we reviewed transportation goals and strategies, implementation, and we also introduced land use, which is kind of where everything comes together. So that was discussed at that meeting, and we were looking for comments from the boards on land use. We prepared a updated map so that people can zoom in and get an idea of different areas of the township. So we're waiting for comments for that. And then we also presented an updated timeline is the other piece of information that we're looking to get comments from the boards, both planning and BOC. And then when we receive all those comments, we'll incorporate them in to the plan and come back at the October meeting with all of that incorporated. We've also started doing some public outreach. We've had open houses at, I believe it was Kratzer in Citronia. It was advertised and blasted out through social media and our email list. I think we're at Parkland High School's open house tomorrow. So we have a table at that. And then there's a couple other middle or schools on the schedule for next week. And we plan to have a table at the Fall Fest. And this is all kind of ramping up the official public comment period. So when we get the draft completed and we get the okay from the board to enter public comment period, that's where we really will have a bigger push to get comment and explain, what all of these implications are. With regards to the draft, since we have all of the goals and strategies already built and been vetted through the boards, we're building out the draft comprehensive plan around that. So we're kind of filling in text and supporting information around all of those goals and strategies. We're moving along with that. It's looking really good. We're working with Michael Baker, and it's going to be a very usable plan. One of the things that we've heard with the 2009 plan was, it was very text heavy. It was hard to really get into and use. So this plan is really going to be useful. We're setting it up page-based, so if we need information, we can just go to a specific page and not have to dig through text. So we're really kind of excited about how it's coming out, and looking forward to sharing it with everybody.
Very good, Dave. Thank you for that update.
I have one comment. Once again, I have to give positive feedback to our President, Community Development Manager, Dave Manhart, and your predecessor, George Kinney. One given statement about this entire process from beginning to end is there's been an outstanding amount of outreach for community feedback. In George's words, he wanted a process that was this time bottoms up. And by bottoms up, that means a lot of community involvement and all different types of opportunities and venues for getting that feedback. So it's a job really well done.
Thank you. And, the team has been great, and we've had several people working on it, and Michael Baker has been very helpful. So we have a really good team working on this. And again, to reflect what you said, we've put most of our public engagement efforts up front, because we heard loud and clear at those early meetings that the 2009 plan, it went by the book as far as public notice, but we were very conscious of getting all that public engagement up front for the Planning Commission and BOC to kind of put everything together. So yes, and thank you.
Okay, moving on to direction and discussion on our agenda this evening. We have one item, open burning ordinance, and I will ask our Township Fire Marshal and Building Code Official, John France, to present this discussion item.
Good evening, Commissioners. This is a continuation from the last Wednesday's workshop meeting concerning the open burning regulations contained in the 2018 International Fire Code, so that we can get the new version of the fire code adopted and have consistent ordinances based on what we had in the past and what we're going to have moving forward. Since that time, Commissioner Walk had requested that we find that I give to the board the feelings of the Fire Chiefs and Public Safety Commission, because I was unable to do an approved set of minutes because that's not going to happen until next month. I asked if that could be put in email form, and I believe that was, first of all, it was checked. I sent it to Public Safety Chairman Tom Uzerski for his input and Herb for his input. They corrected some typos that I'm rather embarrassed about, but they did not make it to you. But that email was then sent to you. Since that time, Manager Petrucci has requested two things to be added to the ordinance that were not discussed. One, a specific repealer of what had been our open burning regulations that were made, that we were informed by the Solicitor's Office can no longer be enforced because they're in conflict with the 2015 Fire Code. And also, and please help me with the verbiage and the law if possible, he would like something added because there's a Commonwealth law in place where we have to have something in place that we cannot burn materials that we recycle, that we have a recycle program for. Is that correct?
Correct. The township, because you have over 10,000 residents, you're a mandated recycling community under the Solid Waste and Recycling Act, Act 101. So you have to have an ordinance that specifically bans the burning of the materials that you as a township recycle. So in checking the ordinance, the township essentially recycles all recyclable materials that are identified in Act 101. So that would need to be included in the ordinance.
So I will be drafting that also into the ordinance, and I'll be seeking his guidance on verbiage that would be appropriate, but that was discussed. So those are two things that you did not hear in all the other discussion that happened previously. Also, after talking to the fire chiefs and after getting the public safety's input, the fire chief's input, and the discussion from the workshop, the concept of a recreational fire will probably be kept in this ordinance. And recreational fires, because they are limited in size to 3 foot in diameter by 2 foot high, these are not portable fireplaces, but for instance, fire rings, things of that nature that are permanent in nature and are not portable. But again, because in reviewing what the fire chiefs had said with their comments, their concerns or maybe lack of concerns, I felt that this could be added and again, comply with safety requirements. The distance requirements will apply. There are distances to structures. That does not change. So I believe what I'm looking to do is to move forward for preparation of, and what this would be the adoption of the 2018 International Fire Code, which has gone to Attorney Zader's office, was reviewed and was ready for adoption before this concept of open burning was realized. So I will be working off that copy to add these items, get them to Attorney Zader's office, or I believe Attorney Aldifer to review, and then would put it in a form to present it to the board for possible adoption.
Very good. Thank you for that presentation. And for the update, we appreciate our township manager's additions to this as well. Thank you for reporting those back to us this evening. Are there any board comments beyond what we've talked about in our workshop last week? Commissioner Hodges.
Hi, yes. Thank you for all your guidance with this. I appreciate it. Put a lot of work into it, John. So I just want to clarify that what I'm hearing from public safety is that the way it is written, it's not really a safety concern as long as it's maintained, watched, contained in a certain, okay.
Right.
So,
and those requirements are in here.
Okay.
All those things to be contained and to be, when you say, to be supervised.
Right. And I can't remember, is there something about a mesh or something covering it with embers and so forth?
No, there is not.
Is there any reason that that's not in? Is that not important or?
No,
it's
it
not.
is not.
Okay.
It does not have an impact with the way that the regulations are written and the size of the fires. That should not have an impact on safety.
Okay. All right. So this now becomes more of a quality of life issue. And Tom Harper was kind enough to give us some statistics today for how many people have complained and what was, smoke-related complaints over the past 13-month period. So, trying to be fair to all residents, you have the families that you want to have s'mores around the fire and you want to do those recreational things. What do you do, or how can we go forward to help the people who are really plagued by this? Does it go into a nuisance or quality of life type ordinance? Because you want to give them relief too. You want to somehow find that balance where someone who can't open their windows at night, what do they do? Do they call? And could this possibly fall under nuisance or quality of life?
Yeah, first, and I believe I've said this previous, and I'll say it again, not a problem with that. The fire code, the construction codes are not quality of life ordinances. They're life safety ordinances. Life and an extension property safety, but above all life safety. So I don't believe that something like that is appropriately placed in the fire code, but you alluded to the fact that that could potentially be in a quality of life ordinance. That is a very subjective thing. It's not something that is easily measured, not something that is easily is quantifiable. If you ask, and I believe I said this at the other meetings, if someone complains and I go out and I can smell fire, is that a nuisance? It could potentially be put in a quality of life ordinance. have to do some serious consideration, and it would be very much on a judgment situation to the person that's going out to respond to the complaints.
I have a comment to support where you were going with that.
Okay, go ahead.
If you want me to make it now or wait, it kind of
Please.
flows.
Please.
Please do.
So, John, you pointed that out at the last meeting, which is why I've thought about it since.
Good.
And now you've said it again. I think the way you said it at the last meeting is there's no practical measurement. And you gave some analogies to measuring noise and
lighting, for instance.
And lighting, right. Okay, so I've thought about our noise ordinance, and well, either we didn't have one or our language around it was not specific, wasn't measurable. And then you get into even if you have a noise ordinance that says, well, you're limited to a certain number of decibels, well, then practically speaking, how does someone go out and on the spot measure the number of decibels before whoever's making the noise, reduces the volume? Our current noise ordinance, I thought, took a big step forward, at least on certain types of noise. And it said, noise shall not be annoying, and that's defined by it shall not cross a property line.
Right.
So in other words, if somebody's playing loud music, okay, as long as they can play it on theirs. But if a neighbor can hear that, then it's unacceptable. So I was thinking about an analogy, kind of go to Commissioner Hodges' quality of life point here is there a way to do this where take the subjectivity out of it? I like smoke and I don't like smoke. Take the subjectivity out of it, and it's like, can you smell smoke? Period. Is smoke present, on the opposite side of a property line? I just offer that. I don't think it's an immediate solution. I just offer that as a possible way to think about this, and put something in place that might be practical.
And I too have thought about that, and I believe I made some comments. It's funny, the comment that I made was about the fact that the fire department has been dispatched to calls where we get smoke investigations and odor investigations from wildfires that are occurring in the West. And I made that comment to you folks, and the next 2 days after that, we had atmospheric conditions from fires out West. I hear what both of you are saying and appreciate it, and what the residents who came to speak say and appreciate it. I'm just not sure how to quantify that, because yes, smoke is going to be observable outside of a property line, 100%, and outside of the next property line and outside of the next property line, just because of the nature of atmospheric conditions and how smoke travels and buoyancy and things of that nature. I'm not sure. Now, maybe it can be written. You said something about, I forget what you said about, I'll say, really bad noise. Okay.
Oh, annoying. That's the way the ordinance
and I mean,
is
I wouldn't say we put annoying smoke in there, but maybe a similar concept could be put in a quality of life ordinance or one of the ordinances that we have. And again, that would be a judgment call.
We actually have, the township actually has, I think it's an ordinance, 148.1, where it talks about certain conditions that impact public welfare.
Right.
And there's some words in there, that impact the comfort and convenience of citizens. So there's some language, at least somewhere in a township ordinance.
I mean, yes, but again, doubling back, I would not consider that to be best placed in the fire code. I would consider that to be best placed in the quality of life ordinance.
Okay, so we have to go forward with something different. This is going to be fire code. This is something that's contained within the fire code.
And please understand, I'm not arguing with the concept of what you want to do. However, I will stand pretty adamant in the fact that should not be in the fire code itself.
Yeah, Mike, I think what you were talking about is under conduct, 148-1. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's nuisance quality of life. I was looking, I know I've said before in a meeting that we always have to do what's best for for our citizens, our community here in South Whitehall. But you know what? I did do a little research, Lower Mac, Upper Mac, just to see what people
Yes.
around us do. And some of what they propose make a lot of sense. Like I think it was Lower Mac that was kind of very short, sweet, and to the point. They did say a container has to have a wire mesh or screening material. They also had something that it's unlawful to burn or ignite anything between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. I mean, maybe something like that we can think about, we can discuss.
If you want to do that,
Mhm.
if you really want to move forward with that, may I make a suggestion that you don't use times, you use it hours after sunset and before sunup. So let's say you arbitrarily pick 10 o'clock or pick 9 o'clock. That doesn't work in the summer. Time that you're allowed to burn in the summer will be a lot shorter. I'm just saying, maybe you would want to consider something like that.
Yeah, thank you for that. They also had, I think ours is 15 feet. They had 25 feet. And
Now, I did check with Upper Macungie, and Upper Macungie, the fire commissioner, told me that they're basically using the unchanged version of the fire code, keeping the bonfires in, for instance.
and then I looked at Lower Saucon, and actually that fell under nuisances, any burning activity that shall cause odor or smoke to travel across property boundaries, which would be determined a nuisance. I do want to add that the night that there was a complaint and the board did receive the letter, I did go out and it was bad. I don't know what was burning, but I know that my throat was burning, my eyes were watering. And, you know, like I said, again, I want to get a really good balance. I want to be fair and, you know, offer relief to people who are suffering from it, but still allow people to enjoy it. So that's
Commissioner Walk, you had said something in one of the previous times that we had spoken about listing things that you couldn't burn. I thought that what Manager Petrucci is proposing that we do with the recycling items is a good addition.
Yeah,
That
categorically, I agree.
that addresses what you had said.
Yep.
And I think what's good about it is if recycling expands or changes, it will encompass
Yes.
that as well, if they make any changes to it industry-wide.
Yes.
Were you done, Monica? I'll just say one other category of questions, but try to do it briefly. I'm going to ask you to refresh my memory from the last meeting.
That's fine.
Did we talk about whether our township has fees for burning?
No, you didn't. The only thing that we would have fees for are the permit required activities, which would be the silvicultural burning for agriculture purposes. The fire code permit fees that you do and the fee schedule would cover that. There are no permit requirements for recreational fires or portable outdoor fireplace use.
Okay, so I'll share some information I found based on a short search today. Hopefully I got it right. I only spent a short amount of time on this, and I hope I have it in the right context. But from Allentown, Article Roman numeral 12, fire fees, and it outlines permits required and fees required for certain types of fires or burning. So here's some of the things that are included. Open flames and torches, $30. Open flames and candles, $40. Bonfires, range of fees depending on how long the bonfire is. Recreational fires and outdoor fires, $50. Campfires, $50. And so on. So I'll just highlight Allentown, one of our neighbors, does have this sort of permit system, and there may be language in here. I didn't get the whole thing down. There may be some language in here about you know when a fire inspection is required prior to any such burning. So I don't know how that fits with the ordinance or fee structure.
The only thing would be the silvicultural. With what you just read me, I don't believe that they are amending or changing the International Fire Code. And some of what you said does not fall in the open burning category. The open flames, for instance, that would be a church candlelight service. That would be the use of sternos in hotels. That's a different topic. That's a different section.
Has the township considered, or could the township consider fees for burning?
We could. We haven't.
That's not typically handled in the code, though. That would have to be separate.
No, it isn't. Correct. Okay. That would not be a fire code permit required activity, again, outside of the silvicultural reasons. And quite honestly, if we charged the fire code, if we had a fire code permit, we charged a fee, that would imply that there would be a certain level of service that would need to be provided by the township, and that would be a monster.
Mike, are you referring to residential? You have a little portable fire pit or that kind of a fee?
That's what it sounds like.
No, I'm just asking, is that what you're referring to?
The information I found.
No, I meant for South Whitehall Township. I don't care about Allentown.
Oh, well, I think I'm drawing upon this as a reference, and I think this refers to residential fires as well.
Do you know, Tom, if that's fact? I don't believe it. I don't believe it is in residential in Allentown. Yeah, I would, and you know, I know we're not going that far with this, but that would be, I would never support that residential having a permit or a fee. That's just a money grab on the township's part, and I would never support something like that.
And Chief, I know years ago, Assistant Chief Sell was in charge of the fire prevention division. Their open burning was as restrictive as ours. So if that changed over time, that changed. Because I know we used to talk about those things, and that was very much, we were very much similar in that situation back then.
Yeah.
Again, that was, I have to apologize. He must be retired 10 years now or so, but I had a very good professional relationship with him.
Yeah. I didn't read this as a money grab. I just read it as a measure of control.
Yeah.
That was my takeaway.
So at this point,
Let me clarify. I'm not talking about Allentown as a money grab. I'm talking about South Whitehall as a money
we were to
grab.
implement.
If we implemented that here, that's what.
Okay.
Yeah, and I believe me, I definitely support the thought that if we're going to require a permit, we're going to charge a fee for it. There's a level of service we need to provide.
That's a whole new
Yeah.
topic. And
My question would be for the fee is, most people are going to burn at night. CD's not here who handles permits. Public Works isn't here at night to handle the permits. The calls are going to go to the police department or the fire department who has no access to these permits.
Right.
So no one's going to know who has a permit, who doesn't have a permit till the next morning. By then, the situation's already over.
And that's why I explained, for instance, the churches and the Boy Scout troops that had previously got approval from the commissioners. I put that process in, again, with a fire code permit, I had put those processes in place to notify the people, the police, the fire department, the Lehigh County Communication Center, so that didn't happen on the fly that someone complained about it that night.
That makes sense. Thank you. So at this point from us, do you need any further direction to?
At this point, I have work to do. And then I will get the appropriate document to Attorney Zader's office for their review. And we will hopefully proceed with this, certainly when it's brought back to the board. If you don't like what you see, if you have questions about what you see, I will certainly at any time answer any questions. If you think of anything outside of the meeting, please contact me. I will be happy to provide you with any information that I can.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to department reports. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. I'm so sorry.
So we have a comment in the chat, and I believe it's Chris Kiskaravich. I think, are you unmuted? Let me, oh, now, there he is. Chris, are you speaking? We can't hear you. We are not hearing you. I can read the chat that you sent to me. If you want to type anything else in, go ahead and I can read it for everybody to hear. Chris replied that Allentown does not allow recreational fires. And, oh, he sent the same thing twice.
Thank you for your comment. Is there any member of the public who'd like to address the board? If you please come up to the microphone, please state your name and address for our record. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Galka Weiss, and I live at 2042 Whitehall Avenue. And I want to thank Commissioner Wolk and Commissioner Hodges for saving me from reading my whole written article here that I was going to say. But I was going to talk about Section 148-1 of the zoning ordinance and trying to take one last shot to convince the board to reinstate the basic intent of the previous ordinance on open burning, since the actual ordinance cannot be reinstated, but the intent should be. I just want to review that a few of the activities that are in 148-1 that are considered offensive to the health, safety, and other things of the township inhabitants. So this is related. Acts of conduct tending to cause riot, panic, or violence. Willful, loud, unseemly noise to disturb or annoy the peaceable public. Unauthorized discharge of firearms. Depositing of snow or ice on public properties. Selling, offering, or leasing of unwholesome food. Loitering. Profane language. Presence of stagnant water which is conducive to the breeding of mosquitoes, flies, and other insects dangerous to public health. Given the concern for the public health that I just read, I propose the following item be added. Willful burning of materials that emit noxious or toxic gases and/or particulate smoke that is offensive and dangerous to public health. I have no objections to grilling or fire pits using propane or charcoal. And I think this addition of willful burning of noxious materials might address the concerns that many of us have. I did notice a while ago that DEP does have a rule against odors across property lines, but they only apply it to commercials. They don't get involved in residential issues. But it is in their ordinance or their rules. And I also warn you to be careful of allowing daytime burning, because we have a daytime burner in our neighborhood and it does stink up the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We will take that into consideration.
I have a comment. Could we please, I don't know if this breaks any rules, could we please get that exact quote that Mrs. Weiss read, the burning of noxious ... Thank you.
Any other comments? Anything in the chat, Dave? Or anything else? No. Thank you all. Moving on to agenda item 13. These are our quarterly department reports. We'll begin with our executive department.
Okay, I wanted to give a report. If it seems brief, it's because it covers the period from September 6th through today. First of all, my main task, since I've been appointed, is to understand township policies, procedures, processes, and operating norms as the newly appointed township manager, to attempt to establish working relationships with the commissioners, the department heads, committee members, and all other personnel. We are currently working on updating the employee handbook. That's in progress. Earlier tonight, the human resources and pension agenda items were completed. So that'll be completed administratively following your action. I've also been working on the budget team for the 2023 budget. I've been participating with the finance department and the director of operations, working with staff on exploring any grant opportunities to offset anticipated project costs, worked on a personnel restructuring that pertained to the finance department, the executive department for the director of operations and public works positions, and finally to provide direction on any ongoing projects and initiatives whenever required.
Thank you for that update. It might have sounded short to you, but that's quite a bit that you've accomplished in just a few short weeks, and we're thankful to have you on board, Tom. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments from the board? Anything from the public? Moving on to the Community Development Department.
So I'll kind of go over some of the projects that we've been working on. Comprehensive plan is the big one that's taking up a lot of our attention. The other thing that we've talked about and will be coming before you is the sidewalk deferrals. We need to figure out the public notice portion of it where we notice the property owners. So we're working on that, and we hope to have that to you the first meeting in October. We'll get that issue ironed out. So that is coming. I also review some of the boards and commissions that we cover as community development staff. The Planning Commission, the June meeting, there were no applications, so we used that as a comprehensive plan workshop meeting. In the July meeting, we heard the Allentown Duncan drive-through was on that. They have since pulled, so they will not be pursuing that project anymore. At the August meeting, we had Montar Self-Storage came in, and that is a self-storage unit at the corner, well, Walbert and Cedar Crest, just off of the driveway into Cedar Crest Plaza. We also heard the Church Road Pata property. So this is the property across from BJ's. They were approved, so that will be coming in as a truck repair facility, or yeah, that's. Then we also had Ridge Farm 1B. They kind of and 1B is the west side of Cedar Crest, where it's townhomes. Well, I forget, they call them like 2 flat over single or something. So we went through some of the issues that they're working through. They will be back for that phase as well. Zoning Hearing Board apparently had the summer off because there were no applications in June, July, and August. So that was a quick, easy one to do research on. Landscape and Shade Tree, part of their duties is reviewing permits. So they don't typically cancel. They'll usually have a few permits to deal with. So that was kind of an ongoing thing. The other thing we look at is we manage all the permits that come in, the building permits. So for the building permits, we saw an increase in non-residential additions and alterations. That is primarily due to the permits that are starting to come in from Ridge Farm Phase 1A. So typically when a project is coming in, they'll submit building permits for review. And one of the things with commercial projects is we get a permit for every piece, so every trade. In addition to that, they broke up that building into separate permits. So there's each suite is a different permit. So it bumped our numbers up. So I guess the takeaway of that is we're starting to see permits come in from Ridge Farm, and that's going to keep us busy for the foreseeable future. Additionally, we have code enforcement. Summertime, Tom is dealing with high weeds and grass is the predominant complaint that we have. So we've had close to, I guess it was about 45 complaints that were addressed. We had 91 total complaints, and 61 of those have been taken care of or abated. So one of the things that Tom is really good at is getting resolution on a lot of these complaints that come in. So he continues to do that. And we're happy that he's here. And that's all I have.
Very good, Dave. Thank you for that update, and we appreciate all of the work your department does, as well as code and all of our boards that you oversee as well. Thank you. Any questions from the board? Any from the public? Okay, moving on to the fire department.
With the fire department, myself, the new township manager, Tom Petrucci, and the finance team of Christian Blahnik and Trish here, we have laid out the new budget, how we're going to handle the budget coming into 2023 with the fire departments. Each department will have their own budget this year instead of a pot of money. We think it's going to help correct a lot of issues with the funds and everything that are going on there. Also, we have gotten the stucco work completed at Citronia. I will be meeting with MKSD tomorrow at Citronia to get the drawings underway for their new bathroom. The hose order has been placed, and I do not have their stats. They did not send them to me. I am also going to talk to them about starting to come in to do their own fire department reports in the future. So,
Very good. Thank you for that update. I think it would be a great idea to have the chiefs come in. I know several years back that was the practice here. So if that's something they can work out with the township, that would be I think, a very positive step. Thank you to you and the staff for working on that fire budget. I'm looking forward to seeing how you've laid that out to make it more efficient in the township. Any comments from the board? Any from the public? Okay, moving on to the finance department.
Okay, so the finance department has two big projects going on right now. It's no surprise to any of you that budget season is in full swing. So we'll talk about that one a little bit briefly first. I don't want to be redundant. I know we have budget conversations quite frequently. The finance team, that is one of our primary focuses. We're hitting all of our target dates. This week was scheduled to review individual department budgets with the department heads, and we finished that up today. The goal right now is to have all of the first round figures in by the 29th of September. We have a meeting scheduled with ClearGov, which is the platform that we're putting all of the budget figures into this year. We have a meeting scheduled with them on the 29th as well to go over some design options so that we can make sure everybody gets the best product out of this platform that we've chosen. So the figures will be in by the 29th of September. That's when we're going to start design. Right now, the goal is to make sure that the department heads and the board has a deliverable no later than the 7th of October. And that gives the board roughly just over a week to take a look at the budget draft. I won't call it a proposed budget because it's still just a draft that we'll review together during the workshop. But since that's scheduled for the 17th of October, we thought if we have it in your hands no later than the 7th of October, that gives everybody 2 weekends and about 11 or so days to review it. The goal is to get it to everybody before the 7th, but I'm just showing a little grace on myself and my department with this platform being new and us just wanting to make sure we present you guys with a balanced budget in a polished form. That's the goal right now. Communicated some noteworthy dates. So the 17th will be the workshop, the one workshop meeting where, we're hoping to just get board feedback. If there's anything in there that you have questions about, we're hoping to be able to answer all of those. If we can't answer it that night, we'll follow up with those answers quickly. And then dates as we cycle through the rest of budget season. We are hoping that first reading will take place on November 2nd. Second reading will take place on November 16th. And adoption of the budget will take place on December 21st. I know in the beginning of the year, we built this new budget timeline, and obviously we've been committed to making sure we hit all of these target dates, but we also knew that as we cycled through 1 year on a definitive timeline, if we needed to make any changes for next year, we would do that. So while we're cycling through budget season, we're also very much aware of making sure we put realistic dates in there, not in draft form, but in final form for next year and subsequent years. That is the progress right now on the budget. So the other project that finance is working on is, we talk often about financial audits, but the finance department right now is working on auditing internal controls. That scope of work was defined by Herbine on the 4th of August. And we signed the paperwork to officially get that project underway on the 30th of August. We received a preliminary information request from them on the 2nd that was sent out to finance staff, and their target date to have all of that preliminary information back to us was Friday of this week. And I am super happy to report that as of about 3 o'clock today, we uploaded all 120 documents that were a part of that first round of information to the company that's performing the internal audit controls. So I'm proud of my team for obviously overcoming just what is a really busy time, but making time, committing time to making sure not only did they provide us with all of that information, but they did so ahead of the due date. So they can get started. And I've already spoken to Megan, who plans to give me biweekly status updates so that I can report all of that to the full board, probably via email.
Most excellent.
That's all I
Tricia.
have.
Thank you. Congratulations to the team on the accomplishments. And my apologies, I failed to introduce you officially. I believe this is your first meeting as our Director of Finance, having been promoted from the Assistant Director. So congratulations.
Thank you. And I truly do thank, not only the full board, but the executive branch for having the confidence in me that I don't always have in myself. So I appreciate all of that very much.
We appreciate
And
you.
I will translate your message of thanks to my team.
Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions from the board? Any from the public?
Well done.
Moving on to Park and Recreation, Mike Kukitz, Director of Parks and Rec.
Hello again. I will try to keep this as brief as possible. There's a lot going on as always. I believe last time I was in front of you with the report, we had a couple weeks left of the summer program. So happy to report that we ended strong. Again, we had 27 wonderful counselors this year, hoping to get a lot of them returning next year. And we had 375 kids enrolled in the summer program this year. There were 625 enrolled across the entire Parkland area. All of our summer movies, concerts, everything's been very well attended this year. It's all concluded. We're kind of wrapped up with our summer programs and events. Looking forward to our fall and winter events. On that note, our soccer, Zumba, environmental ed programs, everything, the registration numbers are coming in better than expected. And we're also happy to report that we're partnered with the Parkland School District to offer some increased senior programs. So we'll be bringing back some low impact aerobics and yoga and some other things that used to occur at the school district and have not in recent years, but we're looking to partner with them to bring that back. And last but not least, we're looking to start an actual township senior group that's going to meet right in this room once a month for 6 months over the winter time. And we have each month I'll have a specific guest or theme along with it. I want to thank our police department and fire departments for coming out for 2 of those 6 sessions, and then we have some other things lined up as well. Year-to-date program revenue, we're at $218,213.50. Pavilion rental revenue for this year, we're at $15,532. Project updates, the South Whitehall Chase Playground has been delayed, which I believe I mentioned to the board already. We're looking at spring of 23 for that. I am happy to report that the Jacoby Park and South Whitehall Chase basketball court work started on September 14th. And weather depending, I'm not sure what it's looking like tomorrow. Last time I looked, it was looking like rain. Hopefully would be done this week, if not early next week for those 2 courts. Vistas Park, we're currently in the design and engineering phase. Preliminary design and cost estimates were brought to the Park and Rec Board meeting on September 12th and will be revisited at our October 10th board meeting. May have some discussions as far as phasing that project or deciding on how to budget to accomplish the entire project as it was outlined in the master plan. So more to come on that. Kohler Ridge plan we've discussed. Thank you again for adopting that plan tonight. I'm going to close out that DCNR grant and we'll get the last bit of funding from them here before the end of the year. Jordan Creek Greenway, working with Michael Baker right now on specific River Road pinch point design. I know that was something that, again, we recently approved. I want to mention and thank Tom and Herb for meeting with me out there with the homeowner whose property is going to be affected by this design. So we're working with him as well to try to keep all parties as happy as possible and to be the best neighbor that we can be to him. Getting pricing for Winchester Heights tennis courts. As you all know, the township only has 2 tennis courts and they are in need of repair, so that you may see that being discussed in next year's budget. Our wayfinding signage and noise ordinance signage were all created and installed in Cover Bridge Park. The $1 million TASA grant that we received for the construction of the Jordan Creek Greenway, we're looking to be ready to go to out to bid in August 1st of 2023. That's the goal that's been set by PennDOT and the TASA folks. That would be with 2024 construction. Again, that's the section from Ware Mill Road to Lap Road. Concurrently, Michael Baker is working on the design from Lap Road up to Cedar Crest Boulevard and Parkland High School. Just on September 6th, we were successfully awarded our grant for this year. They announced it earlier than normal, so we received a grant for $98,300 to support the Cover Bridge Park Master Plan Phase C, which again is some minor site grading, ADA accessibility, and the construction of a pavilion/amphitheater multi-use facility on the eastern end of Cover Bridge Park where we currently do not have it. Prop plan, public input process ended on August 31st. Barry Isett team is now using all the data that's been collected, looking at NRPA matrix, conducting focus group interviews. We just met with the school district here a few weeks ago. They were one of the more recent focus groups. So they're currently putting together all the input that's been collected over the past 7 months or so. We did have just shy of 800 survey responses, which was fantastic. And our last public meeting date, as you mentioned earlier, Dave, has been changed. So it's no longer that last Thursday in September. It's been moved to Tuesday, October the 4th at 7 p.m. right here in this room. Fall winter programming is all lined up. The newsletter is being printed as we speak. And I will end just by saying that we have our second annual Fall Fest on October 1st from 11 to 3. If you're able to make it down, it would be great to see you. And then on October 21st is our second annual Township Spooktacular / trunk or treat event from 5 to 8 p.m. So if we are still looking for more trunks, so if you have friends, neighbors, families, businesses that may be interested in getting involved, it's a great way to get in front of the community, see a lot of smiling faces, and have a lot of fun.
Excellent. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate all of that status update. You and your department has been very busy. It's exciting to hear these new programs coming online and after COVID, being able to provide opportunity for the residents. And I just want to remind everyone, this information is all on our website. I know you gave a lot of dates and data, but keep an eye on the Township's Park and Rec Facebook page as well. And Township, there's a lot of opportunity. So thank you for everything you do. Any board?
Yeah, I know you're talking about, I'm sorry.
Oh, no. Good.
I know you talk, and it seems like it's a long way away, but it's really not. The tree lighting, you didn't bring that specifically, that term. I was at the tree lighting last year.
Mm-hmm.
It was very, very well attended.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So much so that it was really a negative, I heard, for a lot of township residents because there were so many other people there.
Sure.
How are we going to address that this year?
Sure. So again, I agree with you 110%, and I heard the same feedback. In a way, I look at that as a success only because when I was first brought here, I was asked to grow programs and events. So to hear that the event was grown too big is a good thing in my eyes. But that being said, one thing I added to the event last year was the candy cane hunt for children 12 and under. And that really took off on social media and brought in a lot of extra people to the event who then stayed for the duration of the actual tree lighting. So this year we'll be separating out the candy cane hunt event for the kids to December 10th. And we're also splitting it up to not happen at one location. It's going to be taking place at 4 different parks. It'll be at Cover Bridge Park, Fernwood Park, Vistas Park, and Springhouse West Park. And the fire departments will be helping because I am a department of 1.5. I have a part-time helper now, but can't be at all 4 locations at once. So the fire departments will be helping at different locations for that. And also just looking to kind of scale back the tree lighting, entertainment, and other activities and offerings that we've had in the past. Just going to look to scale it back a little bit this year in hopes that we don't get such a large crowd.
Thanks, Mike.
I got one quick question. Are Commissioner Kennedy and I eligible for the senior group?
50 and over. So I will let you
Tom
answer that.
Tom and I already looked at each other and like, we'll be there.
50 and over. Wow.
Yeah,
we do not want a show of hands.
Let's worry about that crowd, how big that crowd gets.
He's young.
Actually, on that note, I will say again, so all new programs start small. You know, when we started Zumba last year, we had 6 people, and then it grew to 12. Now we have 18. You know, it's word of mouth. So please,
for the other 2 commissioners.
Please help spread the word about the new senior group. We're trying to get the word out there the best we can. We've already been around to a handful of local businesses who've been very generous in giving us gift cards and other prizes we'll be using for bingo and everything. And it really will be a great time here at the township. But it's just going to take a little bit to get it going, get that word of mouth going.
You didn't say when. You said it's here, but when is it?
Second Thursday of every month from October through March at 4:30 p.m.
Mike, do our existing senior groups know about this opportunity?
They should, and if not, they will be reminded.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Have you considered, or maybe you already have, posting it on Nextdoor? That platform seems like it has a lot of the age group demographic that we're probably looking to reach.
Sure.
Just
Yeah,
as
I
a
can make
suggestion.
sure it gets out on Nextdoor. I'll email Rozier tomorrow.
Well, excellent. I'm looking forward to watching these programs grow. Thank you for bringing them to the township.
Sure. Thanks.
All right. Next, we have our Public Works Department. And Herb, is that the hat you're going to wear tonight as well?
Yes. On the park side, we have the grass cutting, along with, we have a crew out doing the tree trimming with the bucket truck that we obtained last year. So we were going through the township to make sure we have room to get underneath the trees with the salt trucks this year so we can get to the curbs with the snow. We are also getting ready for fall baseball. We're grooming the fields, leveling them if we have to do that. We're also in spraying underneath the guide rails and in the swales to keep the weeds down so we don't have such high weeds. While they are out, if we have high weeds in the gutter line, they're taking care of those right away also. On the street side, we are out pothole patching. We are making one more pass through the whole township on the roadside mowing. Some guys are also in the shop setting up the trucks for leaf season, which will be starting the second week of October, which will be October 10th. So we will be through the township numerous times to keep the leaves cleaned up so people have places to park. We're currently sweeping the whole township right now. And we have a crew out repairing inlets. From the beginning of the year to today, we have repaired 45 inlets within inside the township. We have a goal of trying to get 40 done a year. So we are ahead of schedule with that. On the MS4 side, which was passed tonight, we were updating our ordinance, which was completed now. By our permit for MS4, we had to inspect all our outfalls. We have completed that. We have compiled the list of work. At some of them that need to be done, I have spoken to the streets department who is going to assist with that to get those outfalls corrected so we can get them finished up and all the repairs are finished then. On the water side, we have finished all the hydrant flushing that is required by DEP. Our lead and copper is finished also, which is we were required to test this year. That is done every 3 years. We've been doing leak detection to try to get ahead of this winter. So if we have any small leaks, let's repair them now before it's 10 degrees outside at night and we're stuck out there. Kmart, we had a little issue there. The roof has failed on us. So we have obtained quotes on that. We are in their queue for 4 weeks. We have tarped it for right now. So we are moving forward to get that roof fixed. We have the money in this year's budget, so we'll be fine to get that done. We will be out at Eck Road the second week of October. We are going to be replacing that roof in-house. We have met with Brian Height. We have to do some tree trimming around the station. Some of the trees are on his property, so we just wanted to make sure he was fine with everything we would be trimming out there. And the best one, we have completed our full water system audit with DEP, and we have no major violations. The violation that happened was the roof at Kmart, which happened 2 days before she came. There was nothing I could do about it. We knew it was coming. So, but if that's the only thing they found, which the guys downstairs in the water department and sewer department take a lot of pride in these stations, and it showed by having no major violations on that report at all.
That is most excellent.
Thank you. And then on the sewer side, we are currently TVing MS51. We have completed this year MS56. Manhole, we are currently working with USG to bring them in to do some manhole rehab work. We're working on locating the easements for the Tillman Street project, and they are jetting lines in area 51 currently to keep the sewer lines open for everyone. And then on the garage side, we're doing the routine maintenance to the whole fleet. Finishing up the upfit on the new vehicles. Mr. France has finally obtained his new pickup truck and that. The new Explorer has come in, so those radios are being installed. Some of the lights are being installed on John's truck, so those will be done very shortly. And in the meantime, we have a mechanic that is going over all the snow supplies. We know they're going to be on delay, they're going to be on back order, so we're going through all that stuff so we can place our orders now to make sure we have that stuff when it does snow. And we are going to be hooking up the leaf machines to the trackless machines as soon as this last pass through the township is done with the tracklesses, which do the roadside mowing also. It's just a matter of changing the heads out on them, and we'll be ready for winter.
Thank you for that outstanding report. I'm going to add one thing to that for you. that you failed to say, but I'll say it. The list of accomplishments by Public Works is quite long. This year, we took in-house paving with your crew and mowing.
Correct.
So all of this work was done with those two components on top of the regular scheduled work. So I thank you, I know our board does, for the outstanding work and going above and beyond that our Public Works crew has done. It's a huge savings to the township to do this work in-house, and we appreciate everything under your leadership that's been done there. So thank you.
Thank you, and I appreciate the kind words. I look at the numbers, I run the point, but I couldn't get all that done without the crew downstairs that actually performs those duties. Again, all the credit should go to them. They ultimately get the work completed for the township in a timely manner.
I'd like to add also, Herb, you didn't bring it up that your department, it's under fire department, but also with what you did with all the hydrants.
Yep.
You didn't bring that up, that all the hydrants in the township were checked or?
We're in the process of doing that. We probably
for
have about 45 to 50% of them done now.
So for the flow, for the
Yep.
pressure,
Pressure.
so that the fire department knows when they go to a fire and they see the hydrant, you're spraying over, because you didn't want to get the caps.
Correct.
So that the fire departments know that there's pressure in that line. It's going to be adequate to extinguish a fire. So
Right.
great job in doing that also.
Thank you.
Any public comment? Okay, moving on. Police Department, I'll call on Chief Dorney, please.
I will start by sadly admitting that I also will fit in with the senior crew now. Thanks. Thanks for informing us of that tonight. Can you change those requirements, please? I'll go over some quick stats since we didn't have the second quarter and we're not complete through the third quarter. Second quarter stats for 2022, we handled 3,389 reports versus 3,630 from 2021, which was a decrease of 7%. UCRs, we handled 265 compared to 205 in 2021, which is an increase of 60 for a 29% increase. We handled 112 arrests compared to 96 in 21, and that was a 17% increase in arrests. Go over August quick. For the month, we handled 1,151 calls for service compared to 1,257 last year, for a decrease of 8%. UCRs, the crime reports, we had 83, which is an 11% or a 12% decrease compared to the 94 we handled in 21. We had 46 arrests, which was 6% decrease compared to 21. One of the things that we throw in here as well is our citations and warnings. And we have a 36% rate on citations, which means for the vast majority of the time when we have an offender in the township for a traffic violation, they receive a written warning versus a citation. And I think that is a big educational part for the township. We're still in the midst of a pandemic. It shows that the officers have empathy for our residents and our folks that come through the township that do commit minor violations. When we go year to date, 2022, we're at 9,005 calls for the year to date, and that's the end of August, compared to 9,826 compared to 21, for an 8% decrease. UCRs were at 679 compared to 537 last year, for a 26% increase. Arrests, we have 207 compared to 250 last year, 2% increase. I'm not sure about the citations. We have 921 year to date compared to 1,072, which is a 14% decrease. And we have 1,611 written warnings year to date, which is a 1% decrease compared to last year. Some quick things want to bring up. Just this past weekend, we had our first annual Birdies and Bogeys with the Blue, in which we had 8 police officers from South Whitehall Township and 1 Pennsylvania State Trooper went to Twin Lakes Golf Club and played golf with the students from the Parkland School District on the golf team. It was a great day of fun and bonding with our youth. We're always looking to think outside the box to find out ways to engage our youth and our community. And it was brought to our attention. A lot of golfers on our department, they asked about it, and special thanks to Twin Lakes Golf Course and Mr. David Jandal for supplying those tee times. They donated those for us to go up there and be able to do that and interact with the kids. It was a great time. Parents enjoyed it. They stopped by, had a lot of positive feedback. I won't discuss who won the tournament because my guys are a little upset, but it was a great time had by all. Want to bring up the Citizens Police Academy is starting next Tuesday. We have 28 participants again. That is starting. I know we have a proud graduate on the board from last year, and I believe, is your wife going to attend this year, Mr. Kennedy? Oh, she's not going to? Okay. Okay. But we do have 28 participants. It's going to be a good time. We're doing it every other Tuesday to spread it out. So it goes through, I believe, the end of February, beginning of March, when we'll have our graduation. This coming Friday is the deadline if you know anybody who would like to become a police officer in Lehigh County. Obviously, the best department is South Whitehall Township. However, we are giving the Lehigh County Police Test on October 1st. They can apply online, and that is covering 13 departments in Lehigh County outside the city of Allentown, and it is lehighcountypolicetest.com. I encourage you to please spread the word. We are in need of officers in Lehigh County, and quite frankly, across the country. It's very difficult to recruit in times like this, so if you know anybody, please have them sign up. All the information is on the website. We have been working with the Parkland School District and the administration ever since Uvalde occurred, obviously that tragic day. I reached out to the school district for Dr. Naradko and Dr. Madsen, and we came up with a strategy and a plan to train all of the staff in the Parkland School District on essentially run, hide, fight to make sure that we prepare our teachers, our educators, and our staff at our schools on what to do in case of an active aggressor. That's been very successful. We completed the first round of it right before school started. We have some more schools that we're going to be working on with Citronia Elementary as well as Parkway Manor, and then also in the Upper Macungie schools to make sure we have that squared away. It was very successful, positive feedback from the teachers and staff. And we're going to work on that building forward for the future to make sure that we safeguard our schools, our kids especially, and our staff. And just one point of information, I know we've gotten a lot of questions over this, and I mentioned at the public safety meeting, we get a lot of complaints about vehicles parked on the Tillman Street Bridge over the turnpike. We've investigated it, and what it turns out, it is not malicious behavior by any means. It is a glitch in the system for Grubhub and DoorDash. When the DoorDash and Grubhub drivers park over top of the turnpike, there's a glitch in the system because they get paid to stage near restaurants. It shows them on the turnpike, which means they get a larger fee to stage. So they have figured that out, and the network in the Grubhub and DoorDash world all talk to each other and tell them they can get paid more money to stage on the bridge. Herb has already reached out to PennDOT, and obviously with the project coming up in the near future, we're looking at additional signage. My officers are keeping a special attention on it and moving them on and issuing citations for those who are repeat offenders or keep going back. So kind of a word to the wise of Grubhub and DoorDash drivers, it's not worth the traffic or the parking citation you're going to get to park over there. So please do not do so. We will be enforcing the parking violations. So, and just special thanks to my staff. It's been a very busy summer with a lot going on. Dorney Park's in full effect. The Haunt is now going on, which has brought some different struggles for us. So I want to give them credit. They do a fantastic job. They're here every day out there 24/7 around the clock. So I want to thank them personally for the hard work and dedication that they have to the township. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Chief Dorney. We appreciate the update to our board and to the community, you and your staff. Appreciate you keeping us safe and keeping us informed and going above and beyond, doing training with the school district, your golf tournament, Citizens Police Academy, all wonderful programs that enrich our township. So thank you, and please pass along to all the officers. Any other comments, board or public? Before we go to Township Engineer, just one quick comment. Everything we just heard, all of these reports, they represent numerous staff members that aren't here tonight. I want to recognize it takes an awful lot of people to keep our township running, and we are very fortunate to have a dedicated staff. So please do take that message back to
your departments and thank them for all that they do on behalf of our residents. It's South Whitehall is just a wonderful place, and we couldn't do it without all of you. So thank you.
Yeah, along those lines, I wanted to say to all the department heads, including Tony, who's yet to come, the amount of content, as Diane has said, representing the amount of work included in the reports tonight, and therefore all the transparency associated with that is just absolutely outstanding. So thank you to all of you.
Agreed. Thank you. And not to leave you out, we're going to ask our township engineer, Tony Tallarida from the Pidcock Company, to please update us on your report.
No problem. Thank you. And I'm not a member of the senior club yet, so still a compliment. I had to say it. No. Actually, on a personal note, my wife, as a teacher at Springhouse, was trained by Chief Dorney, and all the staff there were very impressed with the training that they received. So thank you. From the engineering side, as Dave mentioned, we have a lot of submissions going on right now. We have 6 plans that are going through the preliminary final land development process, along with 2 sketch plans. We have 3 that are imminent for construction, meaning they're at the point that they're getting pre-cons and ready to go. And we actually have 10 projects that are under construction. So we have been very busy this summer, keeping up with the things through the township. And finally, to wrap up, we've also been working closely with Public Works. There's a lot of capital improvement projects and things that are going on next year in the township. We're working with them to help with budgeting for next year. So sure, that's all we have today.
Excellent. Thank you for your update, and we appreciate the work you do for the township.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any board comment?
I do, but it's not about Tony.
Okay.
It's just,
is there any public comment on engineering? Okay, no. Go ahead, Commissioner Hodges.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I had a quick question. In my travels, I've been noticing that there's more and more signage going up throughout the township. I noticed that there's brothers that do gutters. That's at Cedar Crest and Walbert. That's on the pole. You're nodding in agreement. Okay. There's karate ones in the park, in Covered Bridge Park.
Martial arts.
Okay. And I know there used to be college hunks that take away junk, and I still see a few of those. So I just wanted to ask how do we even prevent that? Is there a way to prevent it, or?
What ends up happening is they're sending notice under zoning. So I send them their notice. They're usually given 30 days to remove them. And then if they don't remove them, I go out and remove them, and then we go to court. College hunks, some of the other ones have been cited at the magistrate's level and had fines accordingly. So the next round will be coming up for the remainers who are out there. Their letters are expiring or have expired.
Thank you.
So, keep on top of it.
Thank you, Tom. There are no other comments. We'll proceed to agenda item 14. Thank you all for your patience. We're at courtesy of the floor. Any members of the public who'd like to address the board at this time? Sure. Please come to the microphone and introduce yourself, name and address.
Hi, my name is Olivia Marble. I actually live in Allentown. I just wanted to introduce myself to all of you because I am the new Parkland area reporter for WLVR News, and I know that I'll be calling a lot of you all. I've already called you, so I just wanted to, show my face and say hi.
Well, thank you. It's very nice to meet you. Welcome, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Hope you're enjoying this. Any other public comment? Nothing online, Dave? Are we clear? Okay, moving on to agenda item 15. We need a motion to authorize payment of our invoices and disbursements. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make it.
I'll second it. Motion is second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We have no executive session this evening. I need a motion for adjournment.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is adjourned. Thank you all.